The day the company financial fraud was exposed, the spotlight fell on me. At the press conference, Emily, my wife, though no one knew, stood by Edward, the CEO. She shielded him without hesitation, and without blinking, pinned everything on me. Then she vowed, for the cameras and the world, that I would pay for it. Edward, playing his role to perfection, looked devastated. "Ryan," he sighed, shaking his head like a disappointed father, "I warned you so many times. Why couldn't you stop misusing the funds? Why didn't you listen?" Around us, the office fell silent. My colleagues stayed, waiting for me to fight back, to defend myself. Instead, I smiled and accepted every word. I even handed in my resignation. Emily's eyes softened for the first time in weeks. She leaned close, whispering like it was a secret meant only for me. "Don't worry. When this storm passes, I'll bring you back. And then, I'll make us public. I'll finally tell the world you're mine." But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that from the very first day, under the chairman's orders, I had installed hidden monitoring systems across every computer in the company. One click, and I could lay bare every lie, every scheme. If I chose to, their masks would shatter, their careers would burn, and prison would come knocking. But for now, I stayed silent. Back at my desk, Edward stormed in, knocking over the box I had just packed. His arrogance filled the room. "You think quitting makes us disappear? Dream on. You've already cost us $8 million in losses." The others watched, shifting uncomfortably, but said nothing. I looked him in the eye. "What more do you want?" He smirked. "Simple. You will pay for the gap. You will hand over all your projects to me and help us finish them." Those projects weren't just files. They were the lifeblood of the company. Deals I had fought for, bled for, night after night. And now, Edward wanted to strip me bare, to drain the very last drop of value I had left. I turned to Emily, hoping, maybe foolishly, for something different. She hesitated, just for a moment. Then she nodded. "Edward's right. The company has already suffered. But if you're willing to make it right and finish the projects, maybe I can let you stay." Edward's smirk widened. I couldn't help but laugh. 6 months ago, when Edward first arrived, I noticed Emily's strange fascination. She, who never interviewed anyone, insisted on choosing him, ignoring every better candidate. She picked Edward as her assistant. When I questioned her, she smiled and said he reminded her of me in my younger days. She told me not to overthink it. And because I trusted her, because we had been secretly married for 7 years, I believed her. But now, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I snapped, "Edward is just an assistant. What qualifications does he have to touch my projects? And you expect me to help him?" Emily froze. She wasn't used to me talking back. Edward's eyes flashed with irritation, but he forced a smile. "Ryan, I only gave you this chance out of respect for your years here. If you don't appreciate it, at least don't insult me." Then he put on his act, turning pitiful as he glanced at Emily. "Maybe I should leave, if I'm so useless." Emily panicked, grabbing his arm. "Who said you're useless? As long as I'm here, no one will make you leave." And then she turned on me. "Ryan, I'm disappointed in you. You think seniority gives you the right to bully others? Edward works hard. He's serious. Even if he's just an assistant now, I believe he'll rise. He has potential." I almost laughed again. Potential? Since Edward arrived, he had botched deals, offended suppliers, and nearly destroyed partnerships I had spent years building. I had saved the company, quietly, time and time again. Without me, the headquarters would have buried them long ago. But Emily didn't care. She softened her tone, thinking she was being reasonable. "Edward's just offering a suggestion. This way, you silence the gossip, protect the company, and stay. Isn't that good for everyone?" Around us, my colleagues, silent until now, finally spoke. "Ryan, you're hoarding all the projects. We get nothing. Share them. Your reputation is ruined. No other company will take you. You should just apologize to Edward. Yes, say sorry and beg for his forgiveness." I looked around the room. These were the same people I had mentored, the same people who had eaten from the bonuses my work had earned them. And now they turned on me. Edward's smile said it all. He thought he had won. Ryan, if you apologize, I might forgive your insult. Emily's eyes lit up. See? Edward is kind. With him, the company will thrive. And you, stop being stubborn. Accept this. When it's over, I'll make it up to you. I'll go public with us. Her words hung in the air, but to me, they felt hollow, because the truth was, the game had only just begun. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I'd heard the same empty promise too many times. Emily dangled it like a prize, and I was sick of it. The truth was simple. Edward had been the one siphoning money, cooking the books. Emily knew it, but she framed me to shield him. And now they stood there, acting like saviors, expecting me to bow in gratitude. Did they think I was that blind? So I raised my hands in mock surrender. Since Edward is so capable, then let him handle everything. I'll wait for the good news of his success. Emily's face hardened instantly. Ryan, you're pushing it. If you want to leave, then leave. Just don't come crawling back when no one will hire you. I smiled, calm and certain. That day will never come. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had been ordered by the board to install back-end monitoring on every computer from day one. And once the chairman saw the data I held, their entire charade would crumble. They wouldn't just owe money. They'd owe prison time. That night, I packed my things. I called my lawyer, drafted divorce papers, and checked into a hotel. Finally free, I lay on the bed, ready to plan my next move. But my phone buzzed. It was Edward. A video. He was sprawled on the sofa, snacks and fruit scattered on the table. In the kitchen, Emily cooked. Dish after dish, steam curling in the air. For a moment her face blurred in my mind, slipping away into something unrecognizable. Then came Edward's voice message, smug and cutting. So what if you married Emily? In her heart, I'm the one who matters. I said I was hungry, and she rushed to cook for me, bought me snacks, put on my favorite show. Tell me, Ryan, did she ever do that for you? And he was right. In all my years with Emily, the smell of oil made her gag. She'd vomit until she collapsed. I cooked with windows open, fans blasting, doing everything to shield her from the kitchen. But now she cooked for him. It wasn't the oil. It was me. She simply hadn't loved me enough. But I didn't dwell. Instead, I saved every word, every video, locking them down as evidence. Then I opened the job app. I didn't even get a chance to update my resume before a message came through. Panda Group, the most powerful player in the industry. They wanted to meet me the very next day. At the tea house, they didn't waste time. A contract was already prepared. They even offered me housing when they learned I had none. Every clause was in my favor. Mr. Ryan, they said warmly, we've long admired your work. The moment we heard you resigned, our chairman asked us to fast-track your hiring. Don't worry about the rumors. Your reputation with us is untouchable. It was genuine, sincere, and for the first time in days, I felt a weight lift. But fate had other plans. The moment I stepped out of that private room, I nearly collided with Emily and Edward. Their eyes widened in surprise. Emily frowned, confused. What are you doing here? In 10 years, she had never once seen me step into a tea house. Edward's lips curved almost instantly. So, Ryan, trailing us, are you? Heard we had a client meeting. I smiled, bitterly amused. Coincidence had thrown us together, but I did have something to say. I walked toward Emily. I need to talk to you. Her expression shifted, softened, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. She hid her satisfaction, but her tone carried it. So, you've cooled off. Finally realized you were wrong? Fine. Then apologize to Edward first. I cut her off. Emily, let's get a divorce. Her head snapped up. Shock flickered in her eyes. Edward's joy flashed, then quickly masked itself with feigned hurt. Ryan, don't be ridiculous. You're just angry about yesterday's press conference, aren't you? That was for the company's reputation. I glared. Cold. You know whether it was for the company or for yourself. Edward's voice trembled with wounded innocence. I knew you always looked down on me because I'm just an assistant. I'll go. I'll leave. Emily clutched his arm. Her voice rose, sharp with accusation. Ryan, When did you become so small-minded? He's a newcomer. If this gets out, his future is ruined. But you have experience, power. This is nothing for you. And there it was, her choice laid bare. I've already promised to make it up to you. What more do you want? Emily's words almost made me laugh. When it came to Edward, even the smallest misstep could supposedly destroy his future. But for me, everything was brushed aside as nothing important. Just yesterday, they'd sworn no company would ever take me in. Now, suddenly, my career was unshakable. Their contradiction spoke louder than any defense I could offer. I didn't bother arguing. Instead, I pulled out the divorce papers and placed them in front of her. I told you what I want. A divorce. The smile on her face faltered. For the first time, she realized I wasn't bluffing. Ryan, you're serious. I nodded. Then, teeth clenched, eyes blazing, she ripped the agreement in two. Don't even think about it. I won't divorce you. Her fury quickly twisted into smugness. Is this about last night? Are you angry I didn't come home? I said nothing, just watched her. She thought she knew me too well. In the past, even the smallest act of kindness toward Edward would spark my jealousy. And yesterday, she'd not only framed me to protect him, but also stayed out the entire night. To her, it was obvious why I was upset. My phone died, she explained quickly. Edward had a stomach issue. He was all alone, no one to care for him, so I stayed. Edward, seizing the moment, put on his best pitiful look. Yeah, Ryan, Emily was just being kind. Don't misunderstand. I almost laughed again. When I was hospitalized from a stomach bleed, 3 nights of drinking for a deal that saved his company, Emily hadn't even visited me. But Edward so much as felt queasy, and she rushed to his side, refusing to leave. A man and woman together overnight, and she didn't see a problem with it. This wasn't about kindness. It was about where her heart truly was. Her refusal to divorce had nothing to do with love. It was control. For 10 years, I had given her everything, my time, my devotion, my unconditional support. She had grown too comfortable in that power. She couldn't stand the idea of losing it. Before I could answer, the door next to us opened. The chairman of the parent company stepped out, flanked by our client. The air shifted instantly. Emily froze, then quickly forced a smile. Chairman, I didn't know you'd arrived. You should have told me. I would have arranged a proper welcome. Edward jumped in, eager. It's almost lunchtime, Chairman. If you allow us, we'd be honored to treat you. But the chairman's face was like stone. With a mess at this branch, I have no appetite. The words hit their mark. Emily broke into a cold sweat. She'd set up this meeting to quietly sweep the problem under the rug. She never imagined it would draw the chairman himself. Edward's eyes darted, then narrowed. He took his chance. Chairman, maybe you don't know. It was Ryan who committed the fraud. Emily's glance toward me was fleeting, apologetic, but then she immediately joined him. Chairman, it's my mistake. I didn't notice Ryan was falsifying accounts. But don't worry, I've already dismissed him. The chairman toned. Finally, to me, Ryan, is it true? For a heartbeat, even Emily looked uneasy, waiting, hoping. I smiled. They're not wrong. I'm no longer with the company. Her face faltered. She hadn't expected me to admit it so easily, but then I reached into my pocket, pulling out a USB drive. However, the one who stole funds and altered accounts wasn't me. It was Edward. The moment his name left my lips, Edward snapped. You're lying. I ignored him, handing the drive to the chairman's secretary. Within seconds, the evidence flickered across the screen, money flowing from the company's account straight into Edward's personal card, records altered again and again. The room went silent. Even Emily, always so quick to protect him, was speechless. The chairman's voice cut through the silence. Edward, anything to say? Cornered, Edward broke down, his act collapsing into tears. Chairman, please. I'd be nothing but loyal. Ryan hates me. He knew you'd be here, so he fabricated all of this to frame me. Emily jumped in, desperate. Yes, Chairman, our company respects employee privacy. How could Ryan have such videos unless he planted them? Edward is hardworking, reliable, and invaluable talent. Something doesn't add up here. And in that moment, I realized, after 10 years together, I had never seen Emily lie with such skill, such shameless ease. Before I could respond, the client, who had been quietly watching, finally sneered. Edward? A talent? Is worthless. And Emily, if you can't see that, maybe it's time you retired. The words struck like a blade. Emily's face darkened, though she forced a smile under the chairman's gaze. Mr. Lee, you must have heard some misleading rumors. I know Edward, his abilities, his character. There's simply a misunderstanding here. And with that, she turned her eyes on me. A subtle signal, a silent warning. Everyone knew Ryan held deep ties with the company's most important clients. And in Emily's mind, the only person who could ever tarnish Edward's reputation was him. But Mr. Lee didn't even spare her a glance. Instead, he turned to the chairman and said firmly, "Since Ryan is no longer part of your company, I'm afraid our cooperation ends here." The words landed like a hammer blow. Emily panicked, rushing to defend Edward. "Mr. Lee, what do you mean? Even if Ryan is gone, Edward is still here. He can—" But she didn't know what Mr. Lee already knew, that Edward had long offended his own brother, a supplier, and that his reputation had been rotting behind closed doors. Sure enough, Mr. Lee's lips curled into a cold sneer. "Edward? What is he worth? Does a man like him deserve to sit across from me at this table?" Then, with a sharp turn of his gaze, he cut straight through Emily. "Emily, you're not just getting old. You've grown arrogant. You don't take us seriously at all." Her face drained of color, the weight of his words pressing down like a verdict. Still, Edward, cornered and desperate, lashed out, turning toward the chairman. "Chairman, can't you see? Ryan and Mr. Lee are working together. This is all a setup." And for the first time, Ryan almost admired Edward's shamelessness. If business ever failed him, the man could have had a career in writing soap operas. But what stunned him most wasn't Edward's audacity. It was Emily, because she actually believed it. Her suspicious eyes darted between him and the client, and then she snapped, voice trembling with fury. "Ryan, I thought you were just jealous, throwing a tantrum. But to stoop this low?" The room went still. Every pair of eyes shifted to her, disbelief etched across their faces. The shame on the chairman's face said everything. Finally, his patience snapped. "Enough," he barked. "The president of a company, bickering like this? Is this what you call leadership?" Emily flushed red, scrambling to explain, but the chairman's voice cut her down again, calm, steady, but sharp as a blade. "When we opened this branch, I had Ryan install surveillance on every computer. Are you suggesting I fabricated the evidence myself?" The truth hit like lightning. Both Emily and Edward froze, speechless. The chairman exhaled slowly, his eyes narrowing. "As for why Ryan is here today, it's because I asked him. I wanted him to confront you both, face to face. Emily, you've disappointed me more than I can put into words." Cold sweat slid down Emily's neck. She couldn't understand it. How could Ryan, an orphan with no family, no power, stand here with the chairman's trust? Edward's humiliation boiled over. He roared, "You set me up together." Mr. Lee scoffed. "If you hadn't dirtied your own hands, there'd be nothing to expose. Instead of blaming others, you should prepare yourself for the police." And right then, the secretary picked up his phone. Moments later, the distant wail of sirens cut through the air. Edward's face turned ghostly pale. He stumbled back, words breaking apart. You'll regret this." But before he could finish, he bolted, fleeing like a man already defeated. The chairman didn't even flinch. The secretary quietly sent someone after him. Emily stood frozen, her world collapsing piece by piece. She had known the truth would destroy them both, but she never expected Edward to abandon her first. And then Mr. Lee struck the final blow. With evidence laid out in black and white, he revealed every dirty secret Edward had hidden over the past 6 months, right down to the harm he'd done to Mr. Lee's brother. He leaned in, his voice like ice. "Emily, do you still think your talented assistant is worth protecting?" Her lips trembled, her skin pale as chalk. But even then, she clung to denial. "No, that's not true. Edward isn't like that." The chairman sighed, heavy with disappointment. He turned to Ryan. I should never have listened to you back then, Ryan. I should never have given her the CEO seat. The word hit Emily like a thunderclap. Her eyes widened. Chairman, what do you mean? But the answer didn't come from him. It came from the secretary. Calm, deliberate, almost gentle. Ryan's mother once saved the chairman's life. He never forgot that debt. When you both applied to the company, the chairman wanted Ryan as president. But Ryan refused. Instead, he gave all his achievements to you, so you could rise into that seat. Emily froze. Her mind reeled. She turned to Ryan, her voice breaking. Why? Why didn't you ever tell me? Ryan looked at her, his tone soft, almost weary. Back then, you were exhausted, broken by the old CEO. I just wanted to protect you. None of it matters now. The room fell silent. Even the secretary knew to hold his tongue. The chairman's voice finally broke the stillness, low, angry, final. A good company, ruined by you. You let cliques fester, you smeared loyal employees, and worst of all, you dared to fire a benefactor. Emily, it's you who should be fired. The chairman didn't waste a second. He ordered his secretary to clear Ryan's name publicly on the company's website in every internal group, while stripping Emily of her CEO title on the spot. HR was told to fire both her and Edward, demand heavy compensation, and prepare them for the legal storm that was about to hit. For Emily, it was like the ground had vanished beneath her feet. She had never known fear like this. Desperate, she begged the chairman for forgiveness, swearing she'd never make the same mistake again. But his expression was cold, unmoved. So she turned to Ryan. Her voice cracked, her hands clutching at him. Ryan, please, help me. If you plead with the chairman, I'll go public with our relationship right now. I'll never see Edward again. But Ryan pulled his hand away. His voice was calm, almost weary. Emily, you seem to forget. I don't want your promises. I only want a divorce, to be free of you completely. Her eyes widened in disbelief. No, impossible. You love me too much. Back then, you tolerated everything, even when I treated Edward better than you. Now that I've promised to cut ties with him, how can you still walk away? To Ryan, it was almost laughable. She truly thought she had been kind to Edward. Mr. Lee couldn't hold back anymore. He leaned forward, his tone sharp with irony. Miss Moo, or rather, ex-Miss Moo, you seem to forget. Edward will soon be behind bars. Even if you wanted to see him again, it wouldn't be possible. Emily bit her lip, her face pale, but before she could protest again, the chairman raised his hand. His patience had snapped. Enough. Security rushed forward, dragging her out as her cries echoed down the hallway, fading, breaking, until the room finally fell silent. For the first time in a long while, Ryan felt a strange kind of peace. Before leaving, the chairman turned to him with an unexpected offer, the CEO's seat. But Ryan only shook his head. I'm sorry, Chairman. That company lost my trust long ago. I won't go back. I've already accepted an offer somewhere else. The chairman studied him, then nodded with quiet understanding. With Ryan's talent, he'd thrive anywhere. Still, knowing he had lost a man like Ryan because of Emily and Edward only fueled his anger. In the end, he made his decision. The branch office, the one Emily had ruled over for 7 years, was shut down entirely. The days that followed were a new beginning for Ryan. He settled into his new home, focused on his new company, and blocked every trace of Emily from his life. But while he was moving forward, the wreckage she left behind grew heavier. When the branch's collapse was revealed, employees were stunned. Only later did they learn the truth, that Emily and Edward were the rot at its core. The outrage came swiftly. Calls, messages, accusations poured in until Emily cracked under the pressure. Once, she had been the polished, ambitious CEO. Now, she was a woman on the edge, nearly hit by a car, dragged into lawsuits, stripped of her assets, her name ruined in the industry. Edward, meanwhile, vanished without a trace. Ryan couldn't decide if it was relief or regret. But thanks to the prenup Emily had insisted on years ago, none of it touched him financially. So he hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and thought that would be the end. But fate had other plans. One morning, as Ryan arrived at his new office, he saw her waiting downstairs, Not the confident Emily he once knew, but a frail, broken figure who looked 10 years older. The moment she saw him, she ran forward, tears spilling down her face. "Ryan, please, help me. Just this once. I know you're close with the chairman. If you ask him to lift my blacklist, I'll do anything. Anything you want." It was then Ryan realized the chairman had blacklisted them both across the entire industry. But he only shook his head. His voice was steady, final. "Emily, we're adults. We live with our choices. I gave you everything, but you threw it away. I can't help you anymore." He turned to walk away, but Emily wouldn't let go. "If you don't help me, I'll stay right here until you agree." And then, just like that, she collapsed onto the ground, her cries loud enough to draw a crowd. "Oh, what sin did I commit? To love such a heartless man, who abandoned me for another woman, who won't even come home." Ryan stared in disbelief. The Emily he once knew, elegant, composed, was gone. In her place was someone unrecognizable, throwing tantrums like a child. Rush hour traffic swirled around them. A crowd gathered, and among them, Ryan spotted familiar faces, his new colleagues, watching, whispering. He had no choice. To end the spectacle, he grabbed Emily's arm and dragged her out of sight. By the time they reached a quiet cafe, she had already calmed down. She sipped her coffee slowly, her mask slipping back into place. Then she leaned forward, her voice low, almost taunting. "Ryan, you saw it yourself. As long as you convince the chairman to lift my blacklist, I'll be good to you. Otherwise, I'll camp outside your office every day. I'll tell everyone your little secrets." She had chosen Edward over me, chosen to walk out of our home, out of our marriage. And yet now, she stood there, pointing a finger at me as if I were the one to blame. The irony was sharp. For years she had dismissed my feelings, brushed them aside for Edward. But never, not once, had I felt as far from her as I did in that moment. She must have noticed, because a cold little smirk tugged at her lips. "You look down on me now, don't you?" she asked. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She went on anyway, her voice trembling between bitterness and despair. She spoke of selling everything just to repay compensation, of believing she could rise again, only to find the chairman had shut every single door in her face. No allies, no job, no chance of even starting over. She said she'd sweep the streets if that's what it took. Her misery poured out like confession, but inside me, nothing stirred. No pity, no regret. The truth was clear. I didn't love her anymore. Still, to keep her chaos from spilling into my future, I decided to help her just once. The moment I softened, even slightly, her eyes lit up with a spark I'd seen before. "Ryan, I knew you'd come through. Once I get a job again, I'll be good to you. We'll have the wedding we always dreamed of. Invite everyone. Start fresh." Her words only grew more absurd. I frowned. "Emily, we're already separated." But she shook her head, stubborn as ever. "Separated isn't divorced. 10 years together. Ryan, we can still start over." I didn't argue. Instead, I pulled out the papers, the divorce petition, and the files, the videos, the evidence of betrayal. My voice was flat, steady. "Emily, these prove what we both know. With the chairman and others to testify, it's over. Our marriage is done. The divorce is only a matter of time. Face it." I stood to leave, but she wasn't finished. She grabbed my arm, desperate. "There's nothing between Edward and me. He just reminded me of the man you used to be. That's why I got close to him. I couldn't help myself." I smirked. "So, if I found a woman who reminded me of you back then, would it be fine for me to get close to her?" "Of course not," she snapped without hesitation. I looked at her quietly. "You can't accept it, but you've expected me to all this time. Emily, let's leave each other with some dignity. This is the end." She opened her mouth to argue, but her words froze. Her eyes widened. Then she shoved me. A flash of silver cut through the air. A knife buried itself into her abdomen. I spun around, and there he was, Edward, stinking of alcohol, eyes red with rage. His voice cracked with hatred. "Ryan, this is all your fault. You ruined me. You should die." He yanked the knife free and lunged again. But this time, bystanders rushed in, residents who had seen it all. They wrestled him down, others calling for the police, for an ambulance. Emily collapsed, bleeding, pale. Edward was dragged away in handcuffs. At the hospital, she clung to life, saved only by inches. When I walked into her room, she sat staring out at the leaves stirring in the sunlight. She turned her head. When her eyes met mine, the faintest smile appeared, fragile, almost innocent. For a second, it was like looking at the Emily I'd once fallen for, fresh face and full of dreams. She patted the bed, inviting me to sit. I stayed standing. "I've already paid your medical bills," I said evenly, and I spoke to the chairman. "You'll be able to live normally after this." She didn't seem to care about any of that. She only stared at me, her voice soft, almost pleading. "Ryan, I lost my way, but after everything, I realize I've always loved you. Even if you don't help me, I still want to start over, with you." I didn't waver. I pulled out the divorce papers, placed them on her lap. My voice was calm, final. "Emily, we can't go back. Out of respect for the 10 years we shared, let's not drag this into court. Sign it, and let's end this with what little dignity we have left." Her hand trembled as she looked down. Tears fell silently, one after another, staining the page. At last, after a long pause, she picked up the pen. Her name appeared slowly, shakily across the line. And with that stroke of ink, I knew the bond that had tied us together was broken, once and for all, and my new life had finally begun.